But I have to say now, dare I say it, forgive me, you're an artist, you're a great artist. I remember it and I love it, and I love you forever.
It's the untold love story of Diane Keaton and Al Pacino, two cinematic legends forever linked by The Godfather, yet two souls that never quite found their way to each other. Diane Keaton, the fiercely independent, witty muse, was so captivated by Al Pacino that she actually proposed to him. But Pacino, with his dreamy eyes and unpredictable heart, turned away silently, leaving her waiting without a word. They once shared a home, exchanged silent promises, and shed tears for one another. Yet, in the end, they chose separate paths. No wedding, no closure, only a strange, enduring friendship. If you've ever admired Diane Keaton's fearless intellect or been drawn in by Al Pacino's defiant gaze, comment one below and join us as we uncover the hidden story behind the fame. A love never named, a breakup never truly final. How deeply did Diane Keaton suffer? And why did Al Pacino, the man who once vowed, "I love you forever," ultimately let her go? To understand why their story never had a proper ending, we must journey back to a time before their meeting, to the childhoods and artistic struggles that quietly shaped how they loved, and how they let go. Diane Keaton was born in Los Angeles, into a conservative Catholic family. Her father was a civil engineer. Her mother, Dorothy, had once won a local beauty pageant but gave up her stage dreams to be a full-time mother. Diane grew up watching a radiant woman trapped in the kitchen, and vowed never to live like that. From early on, Diane chose freedom, bold, different, and so fiercely assertive that many men found her intimidating. Yet, the same shadow cast by her mother's sacrifices also made her vulnerable. She longed not for fleeting affection, but for a love that was whole. Not a love that comes and goes, but one that dares to stay. A home, a partner, a steady anchor in a world of artistic chaos. And that's exactly what she thought she saw in Al Pacino's eyes. Al Pacino's story was entirely different. Born in East Harlem to a poor Italian-American family, his parents divorced when he was just 2. His mother, Rose, raised him alone in a cramped Bronx apartment, working part-time jobs to make ends meet. Without a family model to lean on, Pacino grew up surrounded by the noise of city streets, old movie theaters, and small stages where he first felt alive. Acting was the only thing he ever truly committed to. He was expelled from school, worked as a movie usher, delivered newspapers, even slept in parks, all to keep chasing his dream. Life hardened him. He grew a protective shell. Gentle but unapproachable, deep yet distant, above all, afraid to form attachments. Because to Pacino, attachment meant losing his freedom. And freedom, that elusive, wild thing, was the only thing that kept him truly alive. Two people, one desperate to hold on, the other only knowing how to run. Both in love, both lonely, and both trapped by the inability to love without hurting themselves. So when they met on the set of The Godfather in 1971, it wasn't just two young actors cast in a masterpiece. It was two fractured souls, long detached from hope, unexpectedly recognizing each other in a single glance. But fate can be cruel. Sometimes it gives hope just to break you with it. I remember hearing how the studio wanted to fire Pacino, how they wanted him out. He was insecure, the pressure was immense, and many on set were skeptical of him. In 1971, Diane Keaton and Al Pacino first crossed paths during the filming of The Godfather. Neither was yet a household name. Diane was an independent comedic actress, while Pacino was a fresh face, emerging from the gritty world of Broadway. Yet when their eyes met amidst the tension of this classic mafia saga, something quietly stirred. A wordless connection, intense yet fragile, as if fate had started writing a secret script for them beyond the camera's lens. Diane Keaton has openly admitted in interviews, she fell for Pacino from the very start. "I was crazy about him," she said. "He was charming, funny, talked non-stop, and strangely handsome. There was something about him, like a lost child, a mad genius." Pacino, however, said little publicly. He never openly acknowledged his feelings for Diane at the time. But anyone who watches behind-the-scenes footage or listens to their friends' stories can feel it. Between them existed an energy beyond words. Not just attraction or camaraderie, but a magnetic pull neither fully understood. Their love began in silence, quietly growing through The Godfather Part 2 and then Part 3. Throughout the 1970s, they loved, broke up, and reunited, caught in a cycle neither could break. And during those years, Diane started to realize something profound. Her feelings for Pacino were far more than youthful infatuation. It was a gentle obsession, one that made her wait over 20 years just to hear an answer. But that answer, perhaps, never came. The cruelest truth: Pacino knew this, yet he remained unchanged. Deep, alluring, distant, and uncommitted. This turned their relationship into a relentless chase, with Diane always the one running after him. The romance between Diane Keaton and Al Pacino was unlike any other Hollywood love story. It never exploded into the public eye. No affectionate red carpet photos. No engagement announcements. Just a quiet, complicated bond that endured beneath the surface. Yet their story lasted over 2 decades, quietly and chaotically, like a melody without a final note, playing, fading, then starting all over again. After their first collaboration on The Godfather, they began dating in silence. During the gaps, Diane Keaton had other relationships. She lived with Woody Allen, then dated Warren Beatty and even Mel Gibson. But Pacino's name was the one she could never erase from her heart. She once said, "The Godfathers, all 3 of them, were about one thing, Al." It was that simple. Meanwhile, Pacino kept following his pattern, evading commitment. His relationships, including the one with Diane, were always broken, unfinished. They broke up many times, then reunited, each reunion carrying the hope it would be the last. Industry insiders often said only Keaton had the patience to stay, gentle enough to calm Pacino when he was tense, wise enough not to push him, and loving enough to wait for a future she feared might never come. The turning point came in the late 1980s while filming The Godfather Part 3 in Rome. They shared a villa, and everyone believed Pacino would finally propose, that after all those years, he'd finally hold on to Diane for good. But reality told a different story. Diane gave him an ultimatum: marriage or it was over. Pacino didn't choose her. The story didn't end with shouting or fights, but with a terrifying silence. Diane fell into depression, attending therapy sessions while learning her father had a brain tumor. Meanwhile, Pacino quietly walked away, never looking back. When asked about that moment, Diane said simply, "I kept asking things of him. I wanted more. I wanted him to love me the way I loved him." And that was the tragedy. To love too much can sometimes be the very thing that makes someone leave. If the love between Diane Keaton and Al Pacino were a piece of music, it would be a solo. A song where only one player keeps going endlessly, while the other quietly steps off the stage. Because at the deepest core of their relationship, it was always Diane moving forward, hoping, ready. And Pacino, though touched, though grateful, stayed frozen, watching love pass him by. Diane once described Pacino as a brilliant lost soul, intelligent, magnetic, full of contradictions, and never letting anyone get too close. She called him gorgeous, a genius fool, and the most beautiful face she'd ever known. But no words could hold on to a heart that was never ready to be bound. Pacino didn't marry, not because he didn't love, but because he didn't believe in an ending that would make him stay. In a later interview, Diane admitted, "I always picked the wrong guys. I needed as much as they needed me." And that's never a formula for a lasting relationship. She recognized she didn't have the nurturing instinct, that she wasn't stable enough to be the ideal life partner. But what she didn't admit was that it was her loving too much that caused the deepest wounds. And Pacino, he never married anyone. He fathered 4 children with 3 different women, but never put a ring on anyone's finger. Friends say Pacino feared losing his freedom, haunted by the idea that marriage would ruin something fragile and beautiful. Maybe he also knew deep down he couldn't love someone enough to commit, or in a way that felt normal. In that 20-year relationship, Diane Keaton never managed to hold on to the man she loved. And Pacino never held on to a woman's heart long enough to build anything lasting. They both lost, but in very different ways. In the end, when love ended with refusal, the one who stayed behind carried all the weight. Diane brought that wound into her roles. Women who were independent, funny, free, yet always carried a quiet loneliness. Al Pacino carried that emptiness onto grand stages. Even now, in his 80s, he still doesn't truly belong to anyone. Their love story ended without scandal, without a third party, and without divorce papers. Just one person stepping back out of fear of commitment, and the other finally choosing to let go. But when the lights dimmed and the applause faded, one question lingered: who lived more fully after it all? After her final breakup with Pacino, Diane Keaton never dated publicly again. She's lived single for over 35 years, adopting 2 children, a girl and a boy, well into her 50s. In one interview she confessed, "No one ever asked me to marry them. Maybe they realized I'm not the easiest person to live with." And yet, she also stated firmly, "I'm really glad I didn't get married. I don't think it would have been right for me." Without a man by her side, Diane Keaton still became one of Hollywood's most successful women. An Oscar winner, Golden Globe recipient, honored by the American Film Institute, she became a symbol of mature beauty, sharp intellect, and unmistakable individuality. Though once hurt by love, she never lost her humor or self-belief. And what about Al Pacino, the man Diane once proposed to? He never married either, but has 4 children with 3 women. Among those relationships, only the one with Beverly D'Angelo lasted a few years, producing twins, Anton and Olivia. Others, from Martha Keller to Lucilla Pollack, and most recently Noor Al-Fala, mother of his youngest son born in 2023, passed like unfinished film scenes. When asked why he never married, Pacino once quietly said, "I avoid doors that might lead to pain." A simple sentence, yet haunting. Maybe he knew he couldn't make someone happy, so he chose to keep everything at a safe distance. Keaton chose solitude. Pacino chose non-attachment, but only one of them ever sat in a therapist's office, crying over a love that never fully became real. And only one, standing before thousands of spectators amid the applause of an entire industry, publicly declared, "I love you forever." If there's a winner here, perhaps it's the person who managed to hold on to themselves. But the one who hurt most was the one who loved the most. In the loud, fleeting world of showbiz, it's rare for a relationship to shift from passionate love to heartbreak, and then quietly evolve into something deeper: respect, connection, a lasting bond. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino somehow managed just that. They became neither lovers nor ordinary friends. They were the sole witnesses to a chapter no one else could ever fully understand. And, strangely enough, their friendship stayed steady, as if no real break had ever occurred between them. In 2017, at the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony honoring Diane Keaton, Al Pacino stepped on stage. Nearly 30 years had passed since their last love. But that night, in Pacino's eyes, time seemed to dissolve. He spoke about moments Diane made him laugh before interviews, memories from Rome, and behind-the-scenes fragments only they shared. At the end of his speech, he paused, took a breath, and said to the entire room, "I love you forever." Diane smiled without shedding a tear, perhaps because she had already cried enough. Their friendship rarely appears in the media. No photos of dinners or red carpet strolls together. Yet, in interviews, they still speak of each other with deep affection. Diane once said Pacino had the most beautiful face she had ever known. Pacino described Diane as a woman like no other, always surprising, always alive. Maybe, when love isn't enough to keep 2 people together, friendship becomes the only way not to lose each other completely. And that's what they chose. Not to hurt each other again, not to go back, and not to deny the past. They let each other move on, but never left each other's hearts. The love ended, but Diane Keaton and Al Pacino never truly said goodbye. Their story isn't just about a failed romance. It reflects a broader generational tragedy. 2 people too exceptional, too independent, and too ambitious, trying to love in a world that offers no room for compromise. Both were artists, shaped by inner worlds and early wounds. Diane grew up in a family where her mother was an ambitious woman who never got her moment to shine. She carried with her a lifelong obsession to prove herself, not just in art, but in her identity. She feared mediocrity, feared control, yet yearned for deep love. Pacino, on the other hand, was the opposite, fatherless from a young age, raised in poverty in the Bronx, wandering the streets of New York chasing stage roles. To him, love was always a threat to his freedom, a price too high to pay for a stability that felt foreign to his very existence. In this relationship, Keaton dreamed of a home, while Pacino dreamed of detachment. Keaton once admitted, "I loved Pacino not for who he was, but for what he represented, a lost soul that needed saving." Pacino, though he valued Diane, never said he was willing to change. He never reached the point where love seemed worth losing a part of himself. Art brought them close, but it was also art, their obsession with roles, careers, and creative freedom, that ultimately kept him apart. Each chose to go further down their own path. Diane became a symbol of independent womanhood, never needing a man to complete her. Pacino grew more withdrawn and free, to the point of solitude, a man who belonged only to the screen. Perhaps that was the fate both of them long sensed. A great love doesn't always walk hand in hand with a great career. Some people are born to love each other deeply, but never meant to live together. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino, 2 living icons of Hollywood, loved in a way few dared, with honesty, years of waiting, private loneliness, and painful choices. Yet, they went nowhere. No happy ending, no wedding under camera flashes, only a lingering phrase, "I love you forever." But was it truly deep love, or just a dream Diane Keaton stepped into, while Pacino stood outside? If you love someone enough to propose, and they walk away without a word, is that love or a mistake? And if more than 20 years later, that person still speaks of you with misty eyes, was it real, or just regret? They didn't stay together, but they never let each other go. No one ever replaced Diane Keaton in Al Pacino's heart. No one has ever made Diane talk so much in interviews, even though she's lived single for more than half her life. Some loves don't need titles. Some endings don't need weddings. But some pains have no name, because they never truly ended, and perhaps never fully began. So what do you think? Did Diane Keaton love the wrong man, or just the right one at the wrong time? And if you were in that story, would you wait one more time? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Because maybe love doesn't end when someone leaves. It begins the moment we find the courage to keep walking, even with an open heart. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next emotional story.